Hi everyone and welcome to my channel and to this small snow study in soft pastel. I hope that you enjoy this speeded up version here, and I have released a full-length version of this over on Patreon. But I hope that you enjoy this here, and please do subscribe if you do. So this is another little snow demo this month, this time a bit smaller and using Fisher 400 paper. And I show my quick initial sketch as I took this crop from a larger photograph and I decided where I wanted to place the setting sun, and just to give myself the correct proportions and some good placement of the trees. I like often with my landscapes to give myself a little bit of a line drawing to get me started. And the first bit of colour I come in with is to build up that beautiful gradation of colour in the sky. So I tend to work with what I can see in the far distance first and get those colours in early on. Now I left this lovely gap up the slightly off-centre area of the sky that shows through the trees, and I thicken up the pastel colours there just a little bit on the sky. The rest of it is still pretty rough. I haven't completely covered the paper, but I work on from there and start to get some of the tree line that's in the distance and some of the main trunks that we can see in the composition. Now I changed the composition a little bit because I wanted to show a bit more of the vibrant blue snow at the bottom and to show the bottom of that main tree. So it wasn't too much to add that in. And I'm using darker Terry Ludwigs for the very darkest value. That's the dark eggplant colour. And then a lot of unisons for some of these purple tones. This warm plum colour, BE23 that is, one of my favourites from Unison. And lots of the vibrant warm tones are all unisons as well. The blue that I'm using in the foreground is an art spectrum. So a little variety in my pastel brands in this one. I really wanted to play with the colour choices, make it as vibrant as I could. So at this point I start to come in a little heavier in some areas of the sky that are really showing through. And using the colours in the sky, I can start to shape the foliage and the branches a little, bringing lots of that warm red tone down through the branches, trying to make that sun setting area really glow. So my intention with this little study was not to go into detail. And when I want to experiment and loosen up a little bit, I find it helpful to work small. If I have a big painting in front of me, I just inevitably get lost in details. For some reason, when I reduce the scale of the piece, it makes me work a little bit quicker, obviously. But I don't go into quite as much detail as normal. And with these smaller studies, what I'm really trying to push are my colour choices. So without getting distracted by the need for detail, I find I can play a bit more with colour. So this month on my Patreon channel, I'm going to produce a few different types of snow study. I've had a bigger painting out earlier in the month, and that's much more detailed, much bigger, more room for detail. So quite a different style to work in. Whereas here, I'm really trying to block in everything. And it's a totally different type of mark making in this style of painting. Apart from when it comes to the finer branches, I'm really not using the pastels too precisely. And then, of course, the tree trunks and the branches are where I do need a little bit of finesse with my marks. And this is something that I need to work on a lot more. So I always dread when it comes to drawing on branches, using the bigger pastel sticks here as well to get that real strength of colour. But yeah, I always dread having to add the branches. But I think they're getting a little bit better. I've been working at painting trees for a while, and I'm starting to dislike it less. Let's just say it that way. And I think you just have to do more. If there's something that you don't like painting, then you've just got to paint it more. And that's hard to do because it's easier to sit down at a painting that you're going to enjoy. And if it's going to be a struggle, then who wants to choose that, right? But if you don't choose to paint those things, then you won't get any better at them. So that's what I'm trying to do with trees at the minute. Tackle things that make me uncomfortable. So that lovely dark Terry Ludwig, that eggplant colour, really deep, rich purple tone. Almost black, but not. And that's great for creating those foreground branches, keeping the darkest colours to the foreground. And then I've also got a girol. I'm presuming you don't pronounce the T at the end of that brand. And that's a beautiful blue that I'm going to add along many of the branches. And that's just going to give it that extra cold look on our foreground trees. So lots of sky holes. I really love adding those little peepholes through to the sky. It helps the look of my trees. It's a really good trick. So this will be a mini demo on levels 3 and above on my Patreon channel. I have lots of other little mini demos in that category on that level. And the idea of them is to work on more specific skills and to create shorter projects. So if you don't have 8 hours to commit to one painting, then perhaps you have 1 or 2 or 3. And I myself am really enjoying the mini demo series because it also gives me a chance to finish a painting within 1 sitting or 2 sittings. And because so much of my other work is very detailed, I quite often have a bit of a marathon session with paintings. So these smaller demos are giving me a chance to both loosen up, although some of them are pretty detailed too. But it's mostly the scale of the paintings that I'm enjoying, these smaller studies. So I hope that you've enjoyed seeing this one come together in time-lapse. And do check me out over on Patreon if you would like to access the full version. But most of all, thank you so much for watching here. Please do subscribe if you enjoyed this. And until next time, happy pasteling.